Let's go. Hurricane Milton. I did see something I thought was kind of funny. There are 2 towns in West Virginia, near where I grew up, that are named Hurricane.
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 Good name.
Hurricane is the way we pronounce it in West Virginia, Hurricane. And a town called Milton. And they're very close to each other, and there is a mileage sign that says Hurricane Milton on it.
Oh, man. How perfect is that?
I know. I just thought that was funny. I don't know why. I just thought of that leading into the show. But, yeah. Facts Lies, One Truth Network. 2 Joes, Wannabe Pros, Ox and Mice. You're making a comeback on your record. You're back to 500, which is kind of what, I don't know, you were slow played last year, right? Public kind of really had a really good start to the NFL season last year. And I felt like you fought back.
Hey, proud of fighting back.
Yeah, and you fought back quicker now. Already.
Yeah, 5-2 over the last 2 weeks. Needed it.
Yeah.
It's not like posting a losing record.
No.
Do not like doing that.
That would not be any fun. But yeah, I mean, the underdogs are still kind of killing it, but that's okay. We've kind of cut up with it with that. But yeah, we got a lot. We got some where we were rights to it. We got a few where we were wrongs, and we went over last time. We got a lot of stuff. I had another game to it as well. I don't have as much college as I usually do this time. It's just a lot of games. The hurricane was coming through, so it kind of got delayed. Like I didn't have any. There was no research really last night. I did have some, obviously during the day there right before it hit, but you kind of got distracted. I mean, you can't sleep during a hurricane, man. You just can't. And I probably should have been researching, but at the same token, like your mind in the right place.
Yeah, so I learned this. I've never been in a place with the hurricane, but then you pointed out, like, when you feel like your house is shaking and gonna blow over, like, how the fuck do you sleep? And I'm like,
dude,
point taken.
Yeah,
point
man.
taken.
That was the most wins that I've been kind of a part of, I guess. It was, definitely above 85. I don't know if it hit 100. I don't know, but when you hear it, the whole house like feels it. Basically, you hear it, feel it. It's hitting your shutters, right? I mean, it sounds loud. You see it. The trees are like this, right? Where they stand up like that, but they're like this. It's like, we don't have any trees in the neighborhood, so that's nothing fell on anything per se. But there were some shingles, obviously, from roofs that are flying off. A lot of flooding and I mean, obviously Tampa, Sarasota, that area got the worst of it, so to speak, in that pocket. But it's weird, man. They just roll right through the state, so everybody gets a little love, right? They get a little wind. We got more rain than Tampa did. Tampa was obviously kind of right there when it hit, broke landfall, but we got more rain than they did. So it's kind of weird because the bands get thrown up higher, the tough rain.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because it was the eye that went closer to Tampa, Sarasota, right?
Yep.
And that's where it's like probably higher winds.
Yep.
But not all that rain. Because when I did look at the radar, obviously, kind of knowing pretty close where you live on a map. And I texted you like 48 hours early, and I'm like, is it just going to rain for 48 hours? Because this fucking tail is like already on you, and it is dark, dark, dark green. Mm-hmm. And apparently it did.
Yeah,
Let me ask you this.
What's up?
You sent the picture this morning where the streets were still a little bit flooded, but you said better.
Yeah.
What were they like at their worst point?
Worst point. So not quite to my sidewalk, probably. There, you know what I mean? It was pretty close on the sidewalk wise, but not quite. But it looks bad, man. I was gonna say I did have a video that I possibly could bring up here on the whim. That was pretty rough. But I had my DJ Osmo kind of camera with me. And I started shooting some stuff, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Nice.
So I kind of did that and got some footage. I got like a little 1 minute video, I would say, probably. I was going to say, I'm not ready. That's all right. But yeah, anyway, I got some cool little video, about 1 minute, 30 seconds. And I did it like every 2 hours. So I started at 2 a.m. when it was supposed to get hot and heavy here. And it was already raining like crazy about 1:20 a.m., 1:20 a.m., sorry. And right when it hit 1:45, I looked back out the front door, and it was starting to accumulate quick. And that's when I was like, it's on. If this is already this bad before the thickness of the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., I was like, it's going to get to the driveway.
Yeah.
And it could get dicey. So I started going in the garage, picking up the charcoal, throwing it on the counter, right, getting the coolers out, because if we lose power, I'm going to need to start, throwing shit in there. And got the grill close because I didn't want the grill to start floating, which I think we were good there. But it was weird. I kind of monitored it, and it never got higher than that until about 5:30. 5:30, that's when it was at its worst. And because the wind, so that was just the rain. The wind came at 5:30.
Okay.
And that's when it was like, shoot. It looked like
it's scary.
It looked like a river because the wind's blowing the water, right? That's when the river, I was like, okay. I was like, the wind was so bad, I couldn't step outside farther than just cracking the door with my arm out with the camera.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's when I was like, okay, because I wanted to get some cool footage, but it's pitch dark for the most part besides the street lamp. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And stuff like that. So I was like, I don't know about this.
It's hard to get an actual snapshot of what it looks like what you're seeing with your eyes. Yeah. Are you going to do a little time-lapse video then? Or try to?
I think I could. Did I wing this that quickly? Oh, I did. Look at that.
Wow.
So here's the video. This is 2 a.m. and this is only 1:30. So chill out, audience, if you're watching the video. Okay, this is not going to take up all your time. I got my cool ass flashlight. I think it's badass.
It looks powerful.
Yeah, it's an Anchor flashlight and it's rechargeable, which is pretty sick by USB-C. That's badass. Here's 3:11 a.m. As you can see, the water's getting a little higher. See, I told you the 132. It's getting a little higher now. So now I'm prepared for it to get to me. But also at the same token, I was like, we might be good. And then I fell asleep a little bit, woke up, and this is the worst.
Here you can see the wind.
Bro.
You can really see it because of that light across the street. That is howling.
Yep. I mean, it was so, you can't hear the audio here, obviously, but it was so loud, dude. So loud.
It looks like it. If you're actually seeing this on YouTube, it's one of those where you can see it and be like, and look at it now. Just a little, it's not as windy, but holy shit.
Yeah, and it was obviously it's based off gust here, it's all over the place. You can see the trees there of the neighbors across the street. It's the palm trees are parallel. And then here's 8 a.m. in the morning. Obviously way better lighting, so you can actually see here. But that was probably where it was. This is the average height of the water overnight.
So good drainage systems, or at least decent. Then.
Not the high. This is not the highest, but yeah.
Yeah, but it never got to the sidewalk. It's kind of impressive for the amount of rain you guys have.
Dude, there's a lot of other places that are not as privileged. Just where all the old houses are, I guess, would be east of us. That whole area is flooded. So I don't know if you want to blame us. Some of those houses blame us for this new development because we sent all the water to them. I don't blame us. But what do you want me to do? I'm not in charge of that.
Right. I just bought in the new development.
Yeah. I just live here, bro. I'm not in charge of the drainage. You know what I mean? So, but no, all good, all safe. Obviously, we can do a podcast, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So, moving on, where we were right. My bet, I love the bet last week. I should have tripled down. South Alabama and Arkansas State. I believe it was 9 points in the first half. What's the total points? It was 30.5 was the over-under. Really liked the research on that. Nailed it. Felt good. And then I think this was, you texted me that you found it on Sunday. Darren Armstrong sack versus the Browns.
Only one book, too.
Oh, really?
Only one book. And on ESPN Bet. And since we're not sponsored, I guess I can actually say that.
Oh, my gosh.
Because normally I would think DraftKings and FanDuel.
Correct.
They're usually the first up. But ESPN Bet, they had one defensive lineman, and it was Dorrance Armstrong. So, yeah, I sent you that screenshot because I was like, can you find this? And you said you found it too, though, right?
Yeah, Harbaugh had it as well, which is pretty sweet. But I had the half sack, right? Does ESPN Bet do half sacks? Is that what they do as well?
That is what they did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
DK's a little bit better because they'll do 0.25. Yeah, so even that half sack, you clear, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have shit for defensive props. They're scared.
Which on the half sack, I have been burned by that. I had to push with Chase Young because of the half sack.
Yep. And that's why that 0.25, like, it does matter, really. Like, if you can find that.
So I have been burned by that. So I got that one. I just put a couple notes here. The windy play at Nebraska, that really came through. I hit the under pretty good. That wind was, I always play the wind, but this one was closer to 20 miles an hour in this one. When I betted it, the weather report was at 18. I don't know what the wind was actually during the game, similar to here. I don't know what the gusts were of the hurricane, but the wind was high, so it definitely factored in the over-under. That was not a best bet, just to be clear. Just wanted to make a note for maybe a novice or two with the bets.
Because you talked about it. Yes.
Yeah, over 15 mile an hour really is when you probably want to pay attention to the wind there. Baseball's big on that too, by the way. So if you want to get into baseball betting, the weather can factor in big for you there. But Diggs over 51.5 receiving yards. You were big on that one.
I was big on that one. That one was good too because he cleared it in the third quarter.
No, really?
He did. Yeah, I was, obviously checking these things. Action does make it super easy to not have to go to ESPN and look at every damn game. And I saw he hit it in the third quarter. I was like, all right, that this is what you bet for.
Yeah.
To try to hit overs early. So that was nice. Probably helped that Nico Collins went out. Let's be real.
Yeah. Only two.
A win is a win.
2 targets, 2 receptions, 78 yards for Nico Collins, though, which is pretty sweet. And a touchdown.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I think he hurt his hamstring on that long-ass touchdown that he had.
Oh, really? And he's out this week.
Yep. Week to week right now.
82 yards for 82 yards and led the team in targets. Diggs did.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it was a nice comeback because he had been down for a few games, so that was good. Next one, what do we have on?
You had Jets and you had Jets 8.5, Bengals 8.5 teaser that your big teaser came through for you on this week. Yep.
Didn't feel good about that one, but it hit because of the Jets. I didn't feel good about that. I had to do like a work thing in the morning, so I couldn't watch it. Probably better once I found out that Aaron Rodgers was just throwing interceptions away. But they were just down like 10-17 the whole time, and it was like, damn it, like, are we going to get here? But it hit. We got there. Bengals was never in question. The plus 2.5 was a different story. That was not a best bet, but pissed me off because I still had that, and they had double-digit lead 3 times in the second half. The Bengals did. Lost the game.
Dude. I've listened to VSiN a lot. I have not listened to them as much this week just due to the random shit happening. But I know you don't like Michael Lombardi very well. I'm mixed bag on him. It doesn't matter to me, but he's very aggressive, in what he says and attacking people. Attacking is kind of wrong, but he's just very aggressive in how he approaches conversations, and he absolutely destroyed the Bengals. He thinks their defense is trash. It should not be this poorly coached and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I don't want to quote necessarily, but they had whoever had a bet on the Bengals, they should be irate because of how poorly managed the game was by the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought nothing's a lock, but I was at a bar / restaurant where they're all had Sunday Ticket on. Mm-hmm. And that was in kind of the back because they had the game almost the entire time. Almost, I thought. The Bengals did.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So I wasn't really paying attention as much because I thought this was a win. But, man, they lost it. I mean, that's almost a statement. Yeah.
They absolutely. So I agree and disagree with Lombardi. So trashing the defense, agree with that. Terrible defense. Trashing the defensive coaches, I disagree with because they've had Anarumo there for like 5 years, and that guy has put some great game plans together. They just have a decimated roster. Their roster just sucks, so I don't blame the coaches. Poorly managed, agree with that because do you remember in overtime? Ravens got the ball first. They're driving down. They're at like the Bengals 45, getting close to field goal, right? But a field goal doesn't end it in overtime.
Right.
They have that snap that I think it goes over Lamar Jackson's head. Anyways, Bengals recovered at like the Ravens' 40-yard line. They scored 38 points at that point. So they're doing whatever they want to. And this is where it was mismanaged completely. They did 3 runs in a row, if I remember correctly, to attempt a 56-yard field goal. When what I did learn, the punter is also the holder. He was brought in off the streets because their punter got hurt. So he's a rookie free agent, had never been with the team. And your decision when you scored 38 points in the game, and you get the ball there, your decision is to run 3 times and try to kick a 55-yard field goal to win. That can make you irate.
That's a tough look. I get that. That's a tough look. But it was weird because Zach Moss has been kind of their back. and Chase Brown, is that right? Out carried him in the game.
Yeah, he's a second or third year guy. He's been getting love in fantasy for like 2 years and never did anything until this week.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's like a sign to come, or because Zach Moss was the lead guy all year. Yeah, I don't know on that.
Zay Flowers owners are probably pretty pleased. He's kind of been in a weird funk, but he had a pretty decent game here. I didn't have a touchdown, but he had 12 targets for 111 yards. So
wow, yeah,
that's pretty nice. The Bengals was a huge hit. On myself as well. I was right on that train. I love the bet. I actually took the money line, so I was just really feeling the bet because of the ROI return, and we both got burned.
Yeah, we did. At least the next one here. Sorry, I'll transition for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
The last place I was right was the over 23.5 on the Bengals. At least that one, that also hit like first series in the third quarter. That felt great. I'm glad I attacked at that angle as well. That softened the blow a little bit.
Yep, that helps. Yep, because they look good. On offense. Where we were wrong, Iowa at Ohio State. That game, oh man, that was so close. It was a dead bet. First half 7-0, and it got so close. In the end. Florida State, geez. Ohio State started picking it up, started scoring, found it on offense, but they just fell short, I think, by 4 points, I think it was.
It was close. I remember that.
Yeah, and I think it may have been 2 points, but nonetheless, it's a loss. Iowa let me down a little bit. I didn't think Ohio State's defense was that elite, but...
that's what I was going to say. This is kind of on Iowa. Ohio State did their part.
Iowa scored this. They have scored points this year. It's usually a 10-7 win for Iowa, but this year they've scored some points. Nonetheless, it's a loss. Jerry Jeudy, complete whiff, made complete sense, but I think this is confirmed. I did see a lot of the Browns game, and fortunately, they have a lot of issues just beyond who's the best receiver, whatever. That's not even the point anymore, right? Whether Jerry Judy's good or he's not, or Amari Cooper's the one or he's not, it doesn't matter. This is an O-line Watson issue.
Yes.
Right. It may be even a little bit of a coaching as well. Like they have some issues that are beyond the receiving core. So this basically confirmed to me this they just can't be trusted. No receiver in terms of props probably cannot be trusted at the Browns.
I agree.
So
Yep. And you sorry. You could go to the offensive line, and you can. But Deshaun Watson sucks, man.
Yeah,
Can we give up on him?
I did. This was all me. This is a complete bad bet. I played it up. I said, and Watson did play okay the week before, but 8 sacks last week. 8 sacks is a lot, but at some point, you got to understand that too. Joe Burrow's let up a lot, has a lot of sacks, but he made a Super Bowl, right? So like, there's more than just bad receivers, maybe, or whatever you want to say. So big miss there. He also dropped a touchdown. Judy did in that game. So bad luck for him. Just another tidbit. UCLA, their backup quarterback, they actually competed against Penn State, and their backup quarterback took them to the over on team total. I didn't have any bet in that game. But if you're a UCLA person, or a Big Ten, I should say, UCLA's backup quarterback is probably just as good as their starter in terms of just, they're both not, no one's really good. But they had 11 points. Their over-under team total was 7.5. Penn State's defense is one of the best in the country. So
they hit it.
-1 Bills. You live bet this game on the rebound, I guess, so to speak. But we had Bills -1.
Yeah, Bills -1. Wrong there. It looked bad, and then it looked good. And then talking about mismanagement, like we did with the Bengals, when the Bills get the ball with 45 seconds left at like their 3-yard line, and then throw 3 bombs.
Yeah, well,
just 3 bombs. Like, run the football, man. Make the Texans burn the timeouts. They didn't. They kicked it. The Texans got the ball at like the 40-yard line.
Yep.
After the punt, they had 3 timeouts, so they could throw anywhere they wanted because they had 3 timeouts remaining. Yep. And that's why you just kind of run the football there. You're on the 3. So either way, I was wrong on it. They at least made it competitive.
They did.
Yeah. So I salvaged the bet from taking the Bills second half over points.
Nice.
So that was good, but that not a part of the right section because I did not. Obviously, that was a live thing.
I know. That's, well, if you follow us on Action, we look great maybe sometimes. I don't Are you putting the live bets on Action now? Or I know you kind of fell behind there for a bit.
Yeah, I've missed the last 2 weeks. And to be honest, for that bet, I was like, can I go bet a second half team total over?
Yeah. And
I didn't even look because I was like, they sometimes don't have those plethora of options,
Yes, I know.
Action, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're back at 500, which is kind of impressive considering the start. It's always tough to fight back. Sports betting's hard, so it's tough. 14-12. I've slowed down. Hanging on. I'm trying.
No bad weeks, really, though.
Last week was my worst, but we're back. I'm going to try to hang this on. I mean, this is not bad. This is plus ROI, so I love it. If you want to follow us on Action, we got this. Here's a URL code. You want to take some pics. There's Alex at Bierstad up at the top right, and mine's not as cool. I'm off an Herbert ad on the left. So if you want to scan our QR codes there, give us a follow. Shell. I know your brother follows me, which is great. I don't think he uses it. Action. Does he use it?
I don't think he logs his bets, but he goes on because he knows about some of my bets and your bets.
Okay.
So he just doesn't log his own.
Fair enough.
But when you do like 7-leg parlays, who wants to log that shit?
Oh my gosh, that's the worst. That's probably why I don't do parlays either, because I don't want to log it all.
Yeah.
All right, a lot of NFL stuff as per usual, and we'll lead off with that. So you got Jags at Bears, London game, 9:30 in the morning. Just a general sense, the favorites own. I had Vikings last week. The favorites generally own the London games. But also, you may know this, is this week at a different stadium compared to last week, or do we not know?
Oh, I do not know that. That's a good question.
Stadiums matter in terms of over-under, in terms of you want to look at the trends. They're not way different, but obviously, like the Tottenham Stadium compared to Wembley, it's a little bit different in terms of the record winning, losing, over-under record. So, nonetheless, Jags obviously a staple here. They're on back-to-back weeks in London, so this is their first of the two here. And this is another rookie quarterback going to play in London for the Chicago Bears. What do you got?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to lead. Rookie quarterback going for the first time to London because the Jaguars are very used to it. So I'm glad you pointed out that they have 2 weeks there because I almost think next week I'm going to have to look at the Jags. They're going to have 2 weeks body clock used to it. They're going to be very comfortable with it. Now, that's kind of foreshadowing or looking ahead a little bit, but they're the only team that does that, plays like the back-to-back weeks there.
Yep.
But, yeah, since it's Caleb Williams' first time, I also don't know about this Bears coaching staff. Like, how are they going to handle this trip? They just don't seem, competent in a ton of areas.
Yep.
So I kind of question that. Trevor Lawrence is 3-1 in London games, straight up. And it's not like they've always had the best team that goes there, I should say.
Yeah.
So this game, I've been back and forth on it. Earlier in the week, I took the Bears over 23.5 team total points. Now that is not one of my best bets because that's where I've gone back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know if I love this anymore.
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams and the Bears offense has been getting better. When you look deeper, though, it's like kind of trash defenses that they're playing. So I don't know what's real. The strength of the Jaguars defensively is their defensive line, very good. They can actually get after the quarterback. And so we'll see if the Bears offensive line can hold up with that. Now, the reason I went to the Bears team total over 23.5 is because in 4 of the 5 games that the Jaguars have played so far this year, the opposing quarterback, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have thrown for over 300 yards and the team has had over 400 yards. The Browns being the one exception. That's it. So they suck through the air. The Jaguars do, defensively. So that's why I was thinking, okay, team total for the Bears here. However, I am thinking about the rookie quarterback, the coaching staff, first time to London. I'm thinking about a little bit of an uptick in the Jaguars. I'm interested to hear if you think that's real or not. They played the Texans close. Crazy game with the Colts. They were up 14 with 3 minutes left and had to win by 3. But so what I've heard too, Doug Peterson, probably on the hot seat a couple weeks ago, right? Because they were getting blown away.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. So he has, everything I've heard, he has taken over play calling duties. the last couple
okay.
weeks.
Okay.
And they've looked a lot better with that. So I kind of flipped from like thinking if I'm going to take a side, I want to take the Bears to I don't have a side on this game, but it more leans to the Jaguars. I'm not mad at my Bears team total bet. I still worry about the Jags offensively. That's why I didn't go for the full game team total or the full game total over. Yeah. Just because the Jaguars have had games where it's like, God, Trevor Lawrence looks awful. But anyways, what I decided on to do in this game from a best bet standpoint is to tease the Jaguars up to 7.5. Really that London, kind of more of a home field advantage to them. Everything else I've referenced there, I think they're on an uptrek. I think the Bears are potentially a little bit fraudulent offensively. So I'm going to pair them with the Falcons. So I get the Jaguars up to 7.5. I get the Falcons money line. That's where we're going. So what do you think though? Because I know you have some bets and some notes on this.
Yeah, I got a lot of similar things. The favorite at Tottenham. So they're playing at Tottenham this week. The favorites are 4-5 against the spread at Tottenham. This is so crazy. This trend is wild. 4-5 against the favorite is 4-5 against the spread in Tottenham's Hotspur Stadium, which is a soccer stadium. Every other stadium, the favorite is 27-10 against the spread.
That, do you factor that stat like because it's just a stadium but that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't factor it in my bet, but that's so insane. I had to make a note for the listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no, I love the stat. I was just curious, what do you do with it? Is all.
Caleb Williams is the sixth rookie to start in a London international game or Mexico games in there, but all of them are 0-5 against the spread.
Whew. Okay.
And straight up. Sorry, all of them.
Love that.
This is a weird stat. I thought you might like it just for information purposes. Caleb Williams leads the NFL in pass attempts longer than 20-plus yards downfield.
Has he been hitting any?
See how the pause there led you to that? 23% completion percentage on those throws, which is the third lowest amongst QBs this season.
Oof.
Ouch. Yes. The Jags are pretty good in London in terms of the last four. They've covered 3 out of 4 in the last 4, which is kind of nice. Which is crazy because the Jags have one win, not last year, but the 3 years ago with Urban Meyer, their one win was here in London. Wow. If you remember that was their first win that season. I don't know if that's included in that stat, but I wanted to make note of that. Here's the bet. Okay, I had a lot of the similar stuff, so I'm not going to repeat it that you have. I know you said you've been flopping back and forth. I have as well. Yes, you are correct. A lot of teams have passed for a shit ton of yards against the Jaguars. Their strength is the D-line, but they have the two almost, but basically their safeties are the 2 worst in the NFL. That's why they're so bad. Caleb Williams has gotten well each week. I usually, and this will go into a later bet for me as well, I don't all the way, but I kind of throw out the first game for a rookie quarterback. It's tough in the NFL nonetheless, and they are awful first game, especially if you have a rookie head coach. It's even worse. The Patriots could have been on that path, but Brissett started instead of May, which that's the difference this week maybe. Nonetheless, it's just really tough for rookie QBs. They don't do great against the spread week 1. So I kind of throw those numbers out in terms of grades, but he's getting better. With how poorly these safeties are and how much better Caleb Williams is getting, he's gone over 21.5 completions twice already this season. Already has done that. That is the over-under for completions this week. Okay? If you look at it, I like the completions because they're going to try to keep it short with him. I think can manage the game. I like Jags +2, not a best bet, but Caleb Williams getting better. He's fine under. The thing is, he doesn't have a great passer rating under pressure, but you saw last week that dude ain't afraid to run for a first down. He has to.
No,
that dude was running all over the place. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So Keenan Allen is back. He's now playing in the slot. And he played the most snaps he's played all season. I know he's been injured, but the point is he's growing in snaps, and he played a full snap slate last week. So he's pretty much got 3 receivers now that I guess you could say he can count on. That's where I lie with that. So we got that going for us. We got that he's getting better. The only thing that I don't love, I know it's a best bet, over 21.5 completions, the best bet. That's why I didn't do yards. We didn't do win because of a lot of that rookie stigma in London we got going on. A lot of positives here. But they are the favorite. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, that's my bet, 21.5 completions. I know it's bold, but, and I was looking at Trevor Lawrence's numbers. You kind of brought him up. They've completely, the last 2 games, this would need some more research, but the last 2 games, they've really helped Trevor Lawrence at the defensive line. Well, I guess kind of offensive line defense, right? His defensive pressures have gone completely down. He only had 1 last week.
Oh.
In the pocket.
So, okay, so maybe they're identifying that's where he's like kind of sucked early on in the year. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, week 1, sacks allowed was 3. Week 2 was 4 sacks allowed. Week 3 was 4 sacks allowed. And then we dropped to 1. And then last week we had 0 and they won.
Okay.
So be interested to see, because this is a very good Bears defensive team, how they handle this. Again, it's in London. Could be a little bit different, right? Not at home. I don't know. Be interested to see.
Yeah. Well, so I have heard this. Speaking of Caleb Williams' improvement and him throwing the most attempts downfield, part of what I have heard is part of the last couple of weeks where you've seen this uptick is because they're forcing him to throw shorter passes.
Yes.
So that at least helps with the completion percentage or just making completions, right? And he did he had Roma Dunze out, I think, a game, Keenan out a couple games, Keenan out 50%. So that's all going to help. And the shorter passing, and if the Bears are smart, they're going to understand this is a better defensive line than they've played in a while. So you can't just sit him back and throw bombs. You have to get some quicker throws.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, 23% completion percentage. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to reel it back
good.
in. And that could be some Caleb Williams part, just saying, fuck it, I'm going to sling it.
I think it partly is.
You know what I mean? So, all right, we got this next one here. I thought this was incredibly tough, just depending on how kind of poorly I thought the Ravens looked last week against the Bengals, even though they won. And then the Commanders, obviously, I mean, like I told you, MVP candidate Daniels kind of carries them more than you think. And they're kind of banged up on the running back position. We don't know. Eckler seems like he's back, but at the same token, I think what's his name is banged up. Brian Thomas? No, I was saying
Robinson.
that? Robinson, thank you. So anyway, nonetheless, Commanders at Ravens. What you got?
Yes, very tough. So when I first look at this game, I see 6.5, and I'm like, this number's way too big. I want to take the Commanders. That's my very first inclination because I think the Commanders are more real than I give them credit for. Like, I tried to fade them after I think they beat the Bengals because I'm like, Bengals terrible defense. Like, we can fade this team. There's going to be too much hype from the public. But they proved me wrong, really, because I thought the Browns' defense, not the offense, but the Browns' defense would really test them. And Jaden Daniels still did whatever the hell he wanted.
Yeah.
Because this line scares me, though, I do not want to take a side. Because I just don't get it, and I feel like I'm missing something here. If I'm being honest, I think the pros know something, because a couple of the podcasts that I listen to, that I really trust, they talk about all the matchup advantages for the Ravens and what they have in this game. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm missing then, so I do not feel comfortable taking a side. What I do know is Washington's defense is still not very good.
Right.
The only time they haven't allowed it, I mean, I guess they kind of held the Cardinals down, but holding the Browns down, I don't give you credit. I'm sorry. So their rush defense, Washington, is ranked 31st in the NFL. Derrick Henry has been used more since that first game against the Chiefs. All right, he only had 13 carries. Since then, he has gone over, I think, 85 yards maybe every single game since then. We saw versus Dallas, where the Ravens very much came in and they said, we're going to run the football. And they did. And they ran it a ton, and they beat the Cowboys' ass doing that until the fourth quarter. Then they let the Cowboys back in. Where I'm going with all this, I think you can attack Washington in a lot of ways, like their defense. But I think there's going to be a little bit of fear of Jaden Daniels because the Ravens haven't been great on defense either. Not through the air. They've been better against the rush, but I don't think you can account a scrambling quarterback into that. Better against the rush, but I think like a running back, not a scrambling quarterback.
Right, agreed.
Yeah, but so you can attack the Ravens through the air. So my point is, I think the Ravens are going to try to slow this game down, and it's the only reason I'm not on the over, because I also wanted to take the over here. But my fear is the Ravens are just going to try to slow this game down. They're going to run the hell out of the football. And so I am on, and my best bet is Derrick Henry over 79.5 rushing yards. He's cleared that 4 out of 5 games. The only time he didn't was against the Chiefs week 1. Chiefs do have a really strong rush defense. They do. Now, why the Ravens never want to run it against him, I don't know. That's 2 games in a row they didn't. I can't explain that. But anyways, I just think this sets up to be a Derrick Henry game. I don't know what to do on the side. So I'm curious to see how you think about this too, because it just seems like a fishy number to me.
It's weird. The number's so high, I thought, for a Commanders team that just seems like they've overachieved. I don't know how you feel about the Cowboys. You would be the one to ask probably, but I'm assuming the Commanders are the best team in this division still.
I would put them there.
Okay. Yeah, and then Daniels is an MVP candidate at this time.
It's their whole offense.
Correct. If he's not on this team, they are not the best team in this division. So I think that alone has to carry some weight, because this division on the other side, the Bengals, Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, is an absolute mess for sure. I mean, I don't think any team really wants to win it. Where I'm going with this is I just think 7's too high for teams that it's just a mess in terms of the Ravens division. You know what I mean? Their division's a mess, but the Commanders are the best team in their division. So does that equal out to 7 points? I don't think so. Nonetheless, this is a pretty crazy stat. In the last decade, teams off overtime, Bengals obviously are also in this realm here this week, only cover 44% of the time on their next game.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty interesting there. But pending how you want to look at this, but over the past 4 seasons, Lamar Jackson is great as a dog. The dude's a beast. He's 7-1 against the spread as a dog. He's 18-21 as a favorite, and he's a pretty heavy favorite here. Here's another kicker. He's 7-18 against the spread as a favorite when it's more than 3 points. 7-18.
That's like a Mahomes stat.
Okay. All right. Similar.
Like he's the same way. They just can't cover big spreads. Yeah.
So this is at 7 on some books, 6.5. I got it at 6.5. Not a best bet, to be clear, but I just think it's too high. Yeah. The only thing is, this is the Commanders' toughest game so far. Their strength of schedule from games played is only ranked 28th. So they really haven't had that tough of a schedule. The Bengals were supposed to be tough, and the game was tough, but the Bengals aren't very good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, needless to say, I'm leaning towards, and I did make the bet at plus 6.5 here with the Commanders. And if you're a big trends person, the underdog has absolutely killed it this year, straight up and against the spread. So I don't know if you want to continue to ride that train. A lot of people are. Jerry said he was. I think it's a valid play. But like you said, if the Ravens have a path to win, it is controlling the game on the ground. And they actually have pretty good 2 backs, obviously. Henry's very good. But what is it? Hill is their backup as well. Not a bad spell guy as well. I don't know if you want to look at a prop there if you think they're going to run a lot. But yes, the Redskins defense being really shitty is a scary approach. That's why the best bet's not strong there with this Commanders.
Well, we had pretty similar thoughts, because I'm with you. Like I said, like this number's way too big for the Ravens, especially when they let teams come back in the fourth quarter every game.
Oh, the Bengals tried. I mean, the cash is 47% spread for the Commanders, 53% cash for the Ravens. So it's 50-50 here. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. And then obviously, you know, the Commanders do have some questions there. You know, Robinson is questionable, and so there's some kind of they have a starting guard that's questionable as well. So I'm interested to see, and they need the safety. Martin is questionable, so they do obviously have some injuries that might need to be sorted out as well. So if you love the game, you want to bet it in terms of a certain way, maybe take a peek at those injuries, especially for the Commanders before committing. I would. But,
okay, a lot of guys questionable. You're right.
Yeah, I just took a quick peek at that. But okay. This next one, I think I found this last night when I had power. I love this kind of tidbit. Chargers at Broncos. I have no idea what you got, but you said we have different opinions. What do you got?
Well, because I went to action, and I after I had placed my bet, and I was like, oh, let's see what he's got this week. Because I picked the games, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's got something. And I was like, oh, he is on the Broncos. I am on the Chargers. So that's where, that's where we're going against each other this game.
Okay. What you got? Why?
I'll make this pretty simple. I will. The reason why is because I think the Broncos are fraudulent.
Okay.
To keep things very short. I don't think Bo Nix is good. Now he's a rookie, so I'm not like throwing him in the garbage, right? I'm not doing that. But I am saying at this point in his early career, I don't think he's a quarterback that wins football games. The Broncos defense is what's winning them games, right? We all know that. Last week, they were losing 10-3 to the Raiders. The Raiders had first, second, and goal. Gardner Minshew airballs a throw and gets a pick six. Raiders were going up 17-3 if he doesn't just throw a dumbass pass. And the Raiders were in Denver about to take a pretty substantial lead on the Broncos. I just don't see it. When the Broncos beat the Bucs had nobody on defense. They were decimated by injuries. Then they go beat the Jets 10-9. Well, we've kind of learned the Jets aren't as good as what we thought coming in, including me, because I had a future on the Jets. Jets right now, they've got issues.
Yes.
Right. That's not a wild thing to say. So, and the other thing about this, Jim Harbaugh, he wants to establish the running game. Joe Alt comes back for the Chargers. They're coming off a bye. Rashawn Slater, those are two of their, I would say their two top offensive linemen are coming back from injury. They're coming off a bye. Justin Herbert has been injured this whole season and is playing through it. I don't know if he's healthy, but you at least get that bye week. Jim Harbaugh wants to establish the run game, and I think that's how you want to score on the Broncos because their secondary is pretty damn good. I mean, Patrick Surtain, I have heard people thinking he might be a top 1, 2, 3 cornerback in the whole NFL. So all of that, I really like the Chargers here. And giving 3 points on the road, that line also seems fishy. Like, I don't think they should be giving that many points, the Chargers. But so therefore, I'm happy to be on that fishy side. That's where I'm at.
Fishy side. Okay.
Yeah. But curious to hear, because you got a Bo Nix take too.
I do. Just kind of looking. I mean, I did see this. I was trying to bring this up in terms of the bye week for the Chargers. Harbaugh's record with the bye week is actually not that impressive. I know it's a trend play or whatever, but some coaches that have a really good look off a bye week is that's pretty impressive. That's a big deal. That I would take note. But just having a meh record, I think it's like around 500. Because it didn't really jump off the board, so that's why I don't know necessarily if the bye week is at play here. I mean, I guess you kind of have to definitely with health, recharging the batteries, stuff like that is a big deal. But that's why I didn't really necessarily play on that. I was going to bring it up here. Yeah, this is Harbaugh's 8th NFL bye week. Because obviously he was previously a head coach in the NFL. He's only 3-3-1. Apparently he had a tie, which is pretty funny. Straight up, and he's only 3-4 against the spread. So I kind of throw the bye week out personally. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I do. I do have an interesting tidbit here, and I thought this was so random I wanted to make note. This is sticking with your Herbert vibe. By the way, both these quarterbacks are the same. They kind of suck.
Really bad.
They just suck.
Yeah.
Injury or not, bro. Injury or not. If you're not good enough, don't play.
But I think Herbert has a longer career of showing he can be good. He's bad this year. I get it.
Herbert
he's been in the league longer and he's had good years.
But he ain't done shit in terms of getting them dubs. Nonetheless, Herbert is 9. This is so crazy. Herbert is 9-28-2 against the second half spread when leading at halftime.
Jeez.
So
wow.
He's 2-2 this season, so maybe this is not a hammer. But this is insane. This is such a poor record. If he's winning this weekend, I think you just go for it.
I mean, why not?
I mean, dude, it's just insane. So that just stuck out at me. But Bo Nix specifically, he's getting better each week. We just kind of just talked about Caleb Williams, how like you got to chill out on these 20-plus yard throws downfield.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Nix was having a little bit of an issue with that too. They were having him throw it. His worst game, his average, I think he only had like 60 yards. I don't have it in front of me actually, but his worst game, he was trying to throw it beyond 10 yards down the field every time. Okay. So they really kind of taken that back. He had a good game reasonably expecting, right? He had a good game last year, went back to 6 yards, right? Went back to 6 yards. He hasn't thrown an interception since week 2. Bo Nix hasn't.
Well, I will say he's conservative with the football.
And I got another one for you.
Okay.
Total pressures of the passer. Week 1. This is the Broncos, sorry. Week 1, 22. Week 2, 17. Week 3, 10. Week 4, 5. We did go up to 6 last week. But we've been going down every week in total pressures on Nix. He's learning the pocket. Offensive line stepping up some more. I like that. Okay. The average depth of target's huge here for Nix, right? If he keeps it short, like you were kind of talking about with Caleb Williams, he's been performing better, right?
Yeah.
Turnover-worthy plays, first 3 weeks, he had at least one. Had at least one turnover-worthy play every week. Last 2, 0. It's getting better. Okay. The Chargers have let up 189.5 passing yards every game. The over-under on Nix passing yards is 189.5. I like Nix here. I think he's done a lot better in the pocket. I know you said Vegas kind of had that game, but I think Nix has gotten a lot better. I think he's figuring out in terms of the speed of the game and how it fits him and how he's successful. He's not turning the ball over anymore, right? The pressures have gone down because his passer rating sucks under pressure. Herbert ain't any freaking better under pressure as well. He's injured, right? We'll keep using that as an excuse. But I just like Nix here in terms of having another consistent game progressing. I think 189.5 yards is totally respectable. I think it's totally doable. And let's be real, the Chargers have one player on D. No, not one player, but they have 2 players on D, but their safeties aren't any good. So I'm
one of their safeties, Derwin James, is coming back.
Yeah, but he's only good.
You don't like him?
He's only good at run defense. Apparently on the grade here.
Well, then that makes sense. He's more of a run stuffer. He's that guy he's the safety that's in the box. He's not really a deep cover guy.
Could be an X factor here off a bye week, even more healthy. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Chargers get a lot of guys back, so I don't worry about that Harbaugh stat just because they get so many people back from injury.
Yeah.
Here, if I could throw this at you, because I was like, what has Bo Nix done passing yards to kind of back up your 189?
Yeah.
But what I ran into, his pass attempts week 1, 51.
Yep.
And then 44, and then 44, and then 29 and 34. This almost feels like a coaching thing. The fact that he was trying to throw downfield, because he didn't really do that at Oregon. Oregon was a lot of get guys in space. So I'm really surprised that he had all the deep throws. But I'm kind of blaming Sean Payton a little bit. Throwing the ball 50 times with a rookie quarterback. I mean, they're rearing that in now. So that's good. And obviously, he's drawn up different plays to throw it shorter too.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't thrown it. He's got 25 attempts versus the Jets, and he's got 27 attempts versus Vegas.
A lot better.
Now, that Jets game is weird. It really is. It looks awful, but the more I looked into it, I'm not going to say throw it out, but they changed the way that he played, in terms of how they were approaching the game with him. You see with the very next week. You know what I mean? And I kind of thought maybe if you look at week 1, the drops week 1 and week 2, he had 2 drops in week 1, 3 drops on receivers in week 2. That's also subsided. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know any of the receivers on Denver. I don't.
No, me neither.
Okay, cool. But they're not terrible. They're not. They're just not who you know, right? So I kind of give Nix a little bit of a free pass there. But he's been over 189 yards in 3 of those 5 games total. And like I said, I'm throwing out week 1. You can penalize me. You say you can't do that. See, whatever. But I'm
you can throw out week 1.
I'm throwing it out.
Week 1.
Throwing it out. Okay. And they were in that game for Seattle for the longest time because we had him survivor pick.
Yes.
Not really because of Bo Nix. But anyway, nonetheless, the DPRs have gone down. If they can protect him, I like it. And the Chargers D is just mediocre. We'll see. I mean, Khalil Mack's a beast, so that doesn't really help that. But I just like the over 189.5 yards. And personally, just based off of Herbert's bad fortunes here, definitely in the second half, I think it's a live bet Broncos. If they're losing like they're probably supposed to here. So I think a live bet Broncos here is probably not a terrible idea.
No, I mean, the stats support it. I don't mind that at all.
Yep.
The only question I would have is Herbert's coaching staff in the past.
Yeah, I know you hate it.
I didn't think they were good. Yeah, and now he has a competent coach. That's my only question on that. But I mean, that's the only pushback I have, because otherwise, the data you gave us fully supports taking them when they're down at half.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if the Broncos keep this up, because when you gave a lot of good shit on Bo Nix, and I'm not ready to throw him away at all, because it's so early in his career, and then actually going and seeing how many pass attempts he had and long. What are you doing, Sean Payton? What are you doing with a rookie quarterback? I think this is more on Sean Payton. Yeah,
I agree. And he may be figuring it out too. I don't know. I just I'm interested to see how it transfers, how it transpires here with these two, because we saw the media and their press conferences and yelling at each other last week. But that's football.
Yeah.
Guys like to compete. I don't read too much into that, but maybe some other people do. I threw this on you last minute. I can go lead off here. I don't know if you have a bet on it. Cleveland Browns and Philadelphia Eagles. I've been doing the sack. I've only lost one in terms of the L column. I've only lost one sack bet this year. Carlos Grandison, he did have 3 hurries in that game. Just want to make note of that. But that was the loss that I had. We hit it last week, which was pretty sweet. And I'm going to go back to the Browns here. Cleveland Browns at Eagles. The Browns have led up the most sacks in the NFL at 26 total sacks. This is off of we just talked about the bye week with the Chargers. The Eagles are also on a bye week here. And I'm going to sell you on this. You're going to bet this just because I'm about to sell you on it. Okay. Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia, first-round pick.
Yep.
Okay. This is his second year. Second year out of Georgia. He had 7 sacks last season. 7 total. Pretty solid for a defensive tackle. Defensive interior lineman based off of PFF, right? The longest stretch last season he went without a sack was 4 straight games. Okay? They've played 4 games this season, and he's had 0 sacks. You're like, Corey, where are you going with this, my friend? He is the 5th ranked interior lineman in pass rush grades. What's the dude? Is he still on the Chiefs? Chris Jones? Is that him?
Uh-huh.
Holy smokes. The dude's an absolute monster.
Yes.
Dude, holy smokes. This is not a Chris Jones bit, but I looked at the grades and I was like, this dude's a beast. He's sick. He's so good. Anyway, the Browns have let up the most sacks, 26 total. Their offensive line's good. It's in shambles. Deshaun Watson, we don't even really know what's going on with him. But there's 2 guys that our boy Jalen Carter here, he's going to line up against, right, on that side of the line. Zach Zinter and DeJuan Jones. Don't know him personally, but I'm about to give you something here. Zach Zinter's the guard, right? Interior a little bit there. 62 out of 69 ranked. So 62nd out of 69 total ranked in pass blocking. Not good. That's almost last. DeJuan Jones, 57th out of 77 total tackles in rank. So he's near the bottom. Both don't grade out very, very good, very well. So you're like, okay, this dude's had 0 sacks, but he's very good at pass rushing. Give me some more. Amongst defensive interior linemen, through only 4 games, he has the 2nd most snaps played. So he's in on a lot of passing snaps specifically, to be specific.
I was looking at his passing snaps. I love that stat.
Second ranked.
He's getting a share.
2nd ranked in passing snaps played amongst players with 4 games. Okay, because obviously they had a bye week. They're off a bye week. He plays a shit ton of snaps, and he's off a bye week. He's never gone more than 4 games without a sack, had 7 last year, and he's getting some quarterback hurries. He's actually pretty solid at the batting down the ball, too, by the way. He's got some bat downs. That you can't bet on that. But I just wanted to throw that in there. So I like Jalen Carter over half sack this week. The Browns had 8 allowed last week. They have another game, which was 2 games ago, with 7 allowed. We've made some money on them before. We did last week. If you had Darren Armstrong over half a sack, he got one of those. going back to the Browns. I don't think they figure out the offensive line woes this week. And they're at least going to let up 2 sacks. How about that? They'll at least let up 2.
Minimum.
And Jalen Carter's due. So I'm kind of playing on the due factor here for Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Did I sell you?
I mean, you very much sold me.
Okay.
Yeah, because you very much sold me because the Browns are going to allow 5 sacks, not 2.
Okay.
For one. And I know Jalen Carter's a beast, like everything I hear about the guy, and he grades out really well.
Yeah.
So then I was, as you were kind of talking, I wanted to go look at further on the Browns offensive line and see how their pass block grade versus their rush blocking grade.
Yep.
They're all worse at pass blocking. their entire interior offensive line. So I mean, yeah, I'm in it.
Cool.
And the only other thing I wrote down, likely to be playing from behind, which means the Browns are going to have to throw the football more.
Yeah.
And which means the Eagles' defensive lines, that's when they can tee off, right? Because normally if you're playing the run versus the pass, you can't like just get at it. But second half, they might be able to get at it. So I like it. Only other nugget on this game, I'm very sad that I missed this teaser leg. I actually wanted to pair this with the Jaguars when it was at 8.5, but now every book has it 9.5, and I'm not going to do that. That's it.
I'm sorry, I didn't even have that up. There we go. Yep. Let's see it.
Everywhere it does. And I didn't think, I thought the pros would keep it because it's a big number. But yeah, anyways, that's it.
All right. We got, moving on from the NFL, that'll be our located in our best bets. If you want to get a recap of the NFL stuff, we'll have that at the slide at the end. Ohio State at Oregon to start off our college betting here. You know me and my big games. This is a big game. I don't know if you can say that both of these teams will make the playoff. I think Ohio State most likely will. A win here for Oregon will be very good for their stock. I would assume, because the Big Ten's a bit of a mess when it comes to that. Well, so is the SEC a little bit, but they'll get their teams in. With that said, big game this weekend. I'll lead us off here. I got some stuff. I don't love a lot of it, but we'll see. Since 2017, Ohio State has only been a favorite by 3 points or less one time.
Oof.
That's kind of weird.
That's wild.
Now, I see that it's grown a little bit. Well, actually, it's kind of gone. It depends what book you got. Sorry. I mean, there's 3.5 out there. I think it's what I saw it open at. I could be wrong there, but some books have it at 3. Okay. But anyway, 3 points or less one time. And it was a push on that game, by the way. So that game, you can even throw it out. So it's never been a thing here that Ohio State's actually been a favorite by 3 points or less. They're always a double-digit favorite. It's kind of weird. I thought there would be like a Michigan, you know what I mean? Some random shit in there. You know, since 2017, you would think there'd be at least a sneak.
Something,
as
right.
a favorite.
Very surprising.
I was at Notre Dame on the road in 2023. So it was just that game that I'm speaking of here that ended up being a push. Ohio State versus top 10 teams as an away favorite, they're 3-8 in the last 10 years. And it's very hard to play at Autzen Stadium in Oregon.
I agree.
So that kind of scared me a little bit, especially versus the top 10 teams and they're a favorite. It's a little scary. There's nothing really on Oregon trends. They're about a 500 overall, so to speak, as a home dog, single digit home dog versus top 10 teams, right? It's all 500 records, so you can't really go off any trends there that you might enjoy. But the last time that this shook out, and they did host a top 10 team, if you want to take some notes, was actually Utah, who's been a very notoriously solid team in the past. And they won. And that was here. So they won 2017. So it was only 3 points, which the spread's similar, but obviously Oregon won by 3. So if you're a money line guy, that kind of bodes well. So they've won here. Yep. Experienced Oregon defense. I think they're all seniors, at least the starters, besides like 1 or 2 guys, which is super nice. The right side of Ohio State's offensive line is the weakest, and Oregon has a very good interior lineman. If you're looking at PFF, so they got a lot of good interior. So this is, again, back to the old Seahawks battle in the trenches here. If Oregon can really win that, I mean, that's something to watch as they'll win the day, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Because Will Howard, sorry, I can't even say Will Howard. running on lack of sleep now. Passer rating under pressure is only 36.5, my friend.
Yikes.
Not good.
Yikes.
So if they can, I'm assuming they'll try to run and control the game here. I like the 3.5. Let's get to it. I like the 3.5. The 3's weird. The 3.5 I like. Otson's tough to play at. That's it. I'm not having it in front of me, but that's at least a 3-point favorite. 3 points Oregon's way. I think it's a bit more, maybe closer to 4 in college football with Oregon, especially being a big game. They beat Utah here a couple years ago, 20-17. I like Oregon here. I think this is huge for them. Also, I haven't done this math. I'm sure Action has. What is it with these new conference teams going coast to coast? We saw Washington lose at Rutgers, right? We saw, Miami was losing by 24 freaking points to Cal until they weren't. These cross-country teams are struggling at times, especially maybe off the jump like we saw at Miami. Here we go again. Ohio State going all the way to Eugene to play again here. This is a 10:30 game for them.
Crossing 3 time zones.
Yep. It's a 10:30 game for them. Be interested to see how they handle that. And Oregon's getting points. I think more things slightly favor Oregon here, so I'm going 3.5 is what I got at. Any thoughts?
Going off what you just said,
Okay.
The Big Ten, 1-8 straight up when they travel cross country.
Okay.
So there you go. There's your stat that you were looking for.
I didn't think it was that bad.
1-8, dude. And the one win was Indiana went to UCLA, if I remember correctly.
And UCLA is not a good team.
And UCLA sucks.
Yes.
Yep. So I was already thinking crossing 3 time zones. I like taking it, looking at those things. So I was already.
Lost him. Can you hear me? Oh, you check your audio again. Yeah, I don't know if you hit it. But 1-8 against straight up. I think that is, UCLA is a terrible football team. They're not any good. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. But one thing I will say about it is Dylan Gabriel, this is a big game for him in the kind of the realm of, I don't know if you want to call it Heisman. I don't think he's Heisman. Travis Hunter's my Heisman, or the Boise State running backs. The kind of the capture of that. Because he's going to run for Barry Sanders numbers, I think, to be honest with you. So that's kind of what's weird about that. But anyway, I think Alex was probably on the same wavelength as myself, with that. And it's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Because I think the weather's good. The weather's going to be fine. And so that the scoring's going to be intense with that. And, are you back?
I think
we got you back. Okay, cool.
You're correct. I'm on Oregon plus 3.5.
You probably had a train of thought that was really, really good.
There were a couple things. I'll keep it shorter now because you hit on a lot of stuff.
Okay.
You're cross country. Oregon's at home, tough place to play. So I'm going to gravitate toward the points in this situation. So yes, also on Oregon 3.5. The eye test too. I don't think either of these offenses are all that good. So I'm on the under as well. Neither of these are best bets. I echo a lot of what you said. The only other stat that is fucking wild here. Wild. I don't know if you saw this.
Okay.
For the spread, 6% of the cash is on Oregon.
I just looked at that. That's insane.
Yet the number has went from 4 to 3.5, and some books are showing 3. What is up? What is up there?
Reverse line movement to the extreme.
Extreme. Books are taking a stand, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I just like Oregon plus 3.5.
I'm with you.
I just thought I got, yeah. And it's crazy. Only 1% of the cash is on the money line. It's just nuts to me. Yeah. That's just absolutely nuts to me. And the money line is going down. The money line opened at 139. It's currently at 126, and only 1% of the cash is on Oregon.
Man,
did someone come in with $1 million?
Yeah, I don't. That's either the books are taking a stand because they know some shit, or like some better that they respect the hell out of came in and he's the one person that bet this game. I guess I don't know.
Oh my gosh, it's nuts. All right, anyway, moving on. So this next one here, I know it's not great, but it caught my eye and I ended up running with it. It's kind of how this went. Wisconsin at Rutgers. Just because Wisconsin struggled so mightily this year. Luke Fickell has only been an away dog one time here. One time. So weird because he's been there for a while. Not a while, but he's been there for years, some years now. He's been an away dog one time and he didn't even cover. So that was a little concerning. Greg Schiano, last 3 years at home, is 8-1. 8-1 last 3 years as a home favorite. Sorry, home favorite. That's what I added in there. Sorry, I stopped reading my page. As a home favorite, he's 8-1. Very disciplined coach. Obviously, he's disciplined against the spread as a home favorite. The only loss came against Michigan State. They won the game by 3, but the spread was 4. Wow. So he only missed it by a point. So he's almost undefeated against the spread as a home favorite. And they won the game. If you look at it, man, Wisconsin's still on their backup quarterback. Lockie, I think it's pretty Lockie. Hasn't really played that well. Did not play well against Purdue. And you kind of been going off motivational factor. I haven't looked at Phil Steele's any of his stuff this week because I've kind of been with this Hurricane thing. But this is a revenge factor for Rutgers. You know why it's a revenge factor for Rutgers? And they're the favorite here, which is nuts, as you can see here on the screen. This is a conference matchup, and they've never beaten Wisconsin ever.
Ever.
Holy. They have never beaten them. So I'm going revenge factor here. I think it's pretty strong. I'm going to go with 3 points. Rutgers have actually played pretty well. This is he's kind of got it going now. Schiano's got it working now. I think they keep the train rolling this week. I want to go money. I'm going safety play. I know it's not great ROI, and I apologize, but I'm going safety play here. I'm going Rutgers money line just based off revenge factor. 8-1 against the spread. If you want to bet, it's only 2.5, but I'm going. I don't want to play with this at all. Let's see what we can get you here. We can get you minus 130. I believe that's what I got it at. If you want to snag it, I dig it. I'm sure you probably don't have a bet on this game, but I really like it. This is my strongest bet of the week.
Is it really?
Strongest bet of the week. Rutgers at home money line.
So they only just lost to Nebraska, and that was kind of and they've been covering the spread in almost every game. Rutgers, this is.
Yeah.
What does the eye test tell you? Is that more where you like it, or is it the trends and the revenge factor?
So it's the Wisconsin having a really, really down year. They're a fade team, especially with the quarterback injury. They just haven't really looked strong in any game, in my opinion. I've watched a lot of Wisconsin, not a lot. I've watched some Wisconsin games. I haven't really watched much Rutgers, to be completely honest with you. So a lot of the stuff that you see with Schiano in there, that's just me researching and reading this. But he's a very disciplined coach. I think this is his 5th current year because this is his 2nd stint as the head coach here, right? So I just like the fact that you're a big motivational guy this year. Phil Steele's a big revenge guy this year, so I kind of stole that idea from him a little bit. I'd like to see what he thinks. I haven't even looked at it yet. This could be one of his best bets, and I swear I have no clue because it's been crazy. But I just like the Rutgers play a little bit here. I mean, you got to think. It's Schiano, man. He's an old school cat. He runs the football and plays gritty D. That's just what he does. That's what they do. I mean, dude, look at 46 rushes game 1, 44, 52. Like, they like to run the football and control the game. I see that here. And they're coming off a loss. So, straight up loss, revenge factor. I just think there's a lot of things that play Rutgers' way here. And at home. So.
And at home. Wisconsin. So, yeah, the only thing I'll say, Wisconsin, God, their schedule's weak. Anytime they've stepped up in class, they get their ass kicked. They have not beat anybody, and they're not even beating them by margin when they play bad teams. Okay, Purdue they beat last week by margin. I don't take much into that. Purdue's lost by 40 to everybody, so I don't really care. But anytime Wisconsin has tried to step up in class, it has gone very bad for them. And they're 1-4 ATS too. So you're right on them being a fade team.
Yeah. I would expect this spread to be a little higher, but at the same token, I just want to get a win here and basically just get out. I mean, offensive line's very, very tight knit here with Rutgers too. They like to control the line of scrimmage, on the offensive line side of the ball. But so does Wisconsin as well. Wisconsin's trying to change their identity though this year. They're trying to shift to more of an air raid, but they lost their quarterback, so now they got to shift to more of a running the ball. It's just been a tough year for Wisconsin. I think you continue to fade them, and I am.
Yeah, that was, I think, their coaching decision to try to become an air raid team in the state of Wisconsin was a terrible idea. Like, that's one of those truly your identity should be to run the football. You live in the northern half of you live in the far north of the U.S. It is cold during football season. You need to be a gritty ass team. You don't need to be a pretty throw it around team. Not based on where your home stadium is. Yep. So everything I heard going into the season was Wisconsin was going to struggle because of that. Do you have any thoughts on the over/under before we move on?
I haven't
because they run a lot.
Yeah, over/under set at 43.5. I think that's a little low. I don't know what the weather sits at. As long as it's not. I don't want to be caught off guard with that. If it's super windy or if it's going to be rainy, or I'm assuming it's probably fine. 43.5. I see 99% of the cash is on the over. I think that's a little bit over the top, but I do see, just based off the successes of probably both running games, I could see that being close. My thought on it is no play.
Okay, that's fair.
It's probably set just right. You know what I mean? Okay. Set just right there. I would probably maybe look at a trend of when they play each other and how it's looked. That's probably how I would approach it. And maybe if you want to have a bet off of that specifically, if you're taking a look at the trend, under, over, so it alternates each year. If you want to go on the alternate and you like that kind of vibe, this year would be an over.
You're into that vibe.
If you want to go with that vibe there, okay? So because it alternates each year as well. So move on to maybe the Midwest, if not kind of that Southwest game of the week. A lot of people's game of the week. Texas versus Oklahoma, the neutral site game. Big week for Texas to continue this role of maybe SEC dominance, TBD. They do have a big game versus Georgia coming up next week. Could be a look-ahead factor. I don't know if you want to play that into it. Again, this is tough. I usually stay away from these, but I hit this one earlier in the week because I like the specific number on it.
I saw that and I was surprised.
I still am surprised, but this has really kind of tipped it for me outside of that 49-0 shellacking that Texas had 2 years ago with Venables. But 9 of the last 11 meetings have been decided by 8 points or less. That's huge right there. That is huge. If you throw that 49-0 game out, I mean, shit, right there.
Which you can, because OU is on like their third string quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like you're looking at 9 out of 10, basically right there, more or less. By 8 points or less. So that was a big one for me. Oklahoma, you could go revenge factor this year here a little bit. Oklahoma had the huge upset last year. Venables is 2-1 versus ranked teams at a neutral site, which isn't too bad. And he's 1-0 as a double-digit underdog, so he's been in this spot before, which might help you. Sark is not good at neutral sites versus ranked teams. He's 1-4. Versus ranked teams.
Really?
Yeah, at a neutral site. Yeah, so not great. And this kind of surprised me with that. Oklahoma's on a bye week, which is going to help Hawkins Jr., which is their, I don't know if you want to call him a new quarterback because he does have some games under his belt. But this last game was his really first full game. He got a lot of snaps last game, a lot of reps in last game. So it was kind of his full first game. Had some film, had a bye week, had a chance to look at it. I think you could only see trending upward. I know Texas is good, so easy to fight back on that. But he was a huge factor in the win versus Auburn. Huge. I think if he doesn't play that game, they might not win that, especially with Auburn with their backs against the wall. Hugh Freeze might get fired. So he was huge in that game, so he's going to have to be big in this one. I mean, under pressure, he sucks. It's going to come down to Texas D-line making some pressure happen against Hawkins Jr. That's what it's going to come down to. And I just don't know how he's going to handle it. This is a huge game. It's a rivalry game. I took it at 14.5 specifically, plus 14.5 for Oklahoma because of the basically 9 out of the last 10, but officially 9 out of the last 11 is 8 points or fewer. This is a rivalry game. Both of these coaches now know each other a little bit. I just seen it kind of, yes, you can give me Texas is better. I'm not saying they're not. But last week showed you this is a weird time in college football, right?
So, yes.
It was insane last week. Miami should have went down too, but they barely held on. Is this the week that the SEC also continues to get wrecked and everybody's got a loss and Texas continues that trend with the SEC and takes a loss from a rival in Oklahoma, which that game they should win, but this game gets crazy, man. I mean, less than 8 points, 14.5. I don't like 14. I'm out on 14, but I'll take 14.
You need the hook.
I need the hook
for the CLV.
Yep. What you got? Anything?
Fair.
I know
that's fair.
I'm sure you Oklahoma. So I think I saw first half. Am I getting it away?
Yeah, I took first half plus 7.5 for OU, and it's because of the rivalry thing now. I've obviously grown up watching this game my whole life.
Yep.
So you didn't even need to tell me the 9 out of 10. I just know it does not matter who is favored by how much. These teams just beat the hell out of each other and they play a close game. I was just worried. I don't love Venables' halftime adjustments sometimes. Although, I mean, Auburn, I guess they found some life at halftime.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. So that's the only reason I went with the half versus the full game on it. But it's really the rivalry game aspect because for OU, I'm still worried. Obviously, offensive line's garbage. We know that. But like the big concern, you hinted on this or talked about it like 2-3 weeks ago, pretty decimated by injuries. And they're not getting any receivers back, even off the bye week. They are not getting any. Their top 5 receivers coming into this year are still out. Jeez. That's the part that concerns me. So I think it makes sense to have Hawkins in, though, because you need a running quarterback. You absolutely, with the bad offensive line, and now you don't have like your playmaking wide receivers, you need to have that scrambling guy, and they need to establish the run. So I'm very much with you on that. Like, if Texas gets after him, though, on the defensive line, it's going to make it tough. But looking at their grades, their edge rushers aren't very good for Texas. They're good in the interior, but they're not great outside on the edge. And I guess arguably where OU's best offensive linemen are their tackles. So I just like that from maybe Hawkins will have a second. Like, you know, maybe he won't be getting killed the whole time. Or we'll see. You know, like OU worries me.
They do me too. I'm banking off this rivalry game being the kind of the kicker here of being less than 14.
Yeah, same. Yep. That's really where I'm at because Texas should obviously they're the better team. They're favored by 14, but their schedule too. You look at it; it's been pretty cupcake. Okay, they went and beat Michigan, but from everybody that I've heard, Michigan's not going to end this year ranked.
Probably not.
Michigan might go 6-6.
No.
I think we're going to look back at that game. Bold take. And Michigan is not going to be what we thought they were. And Texas's one SEC game was Mississippi State. And wasn't that a touchdown game at halftime? Do you remember?
I don't. But Mississippi State is easily the worst. They are worse than Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and Texas kind of struggled to start that game. Yeah. Now, Quinn Ewers is coming back for Texas. I don't know. Does that factor into anything for you?
I think it does a little bit, especially for a rivalry game such as this. I don't know if I want Archie Manning handling a rivalry game kind of like this. And it's off a bye week as well for Texas, so hopefully his health is fine in terms of Texas's terms. So, yes, I think that actually helps Texas's favor a little bit, Quinn Ewers being back. And
he's had up and down games versus OU. 2 years ago, the schlopping, he played great. Last year, he did not handle the pressure very well. And the best part about OU's team is their defensive line. So I think that might actually be the key to the game because Ewers didn't do very good last year because he was under pressure a lot. So OU's defense is going to have to keep him in it. We'll keep it that way.
And that's usually how it's been throughout the year, kind of, I guess, so to speak, with the trend on them. All right, best bets. We'll do a recap here. Here are mine. Wisconsin at Rutgers is my favorite bet. Went outright. Going money line. Make it safe. If you really like my stuff, you can go with the spread. Totally your call. And then Jacksonville Jags at I guess not really but facing the Chicago Bears overseas London game at 9:30. I said 9:30 p.m. It's 9:30 a.m. Caleb Williams over 21.5 completions. I like that a lot. He's been trending upwards, so I dig it. Texas, Oklahoma, just talked about it. Plus 14.5 key number there is the 14.5. 14 kind of scares me. I could see Texas kind of hanging there. And then Cleveland Browns. Let's keep it going with the sacks. I'm going to go Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, interior lineman specifically for the Eagles. Not listed yet. Probably look for that tomorrow would be my guess, or I hope. They were pretty late on the Commanders-Browns game for Sunday, but they did list it. So keep an eye on a sack prop for that. But what you got?
Well, I think you'll be good on the sack prop.
Okay.
I think you'll be able to get that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was kind of a weird situation last week. Like, they weren't posting anything for that game.
Yeah.
But we'll see tomorrow. Should be released tomorrow.
Yep.
What do I got? Okay, so I talked about the Jags Falcons teaser. We covered the Jags, so I'm not going to really go into it. I think it's a good spot for them, though. Falcons, they're just playing the Panthers. The Panthers had a bump when Andy Dalton came in, expectedly, but their defense is still trash, and they're decimated by injury. So, yeah, I'm hoping the trend of teams that are 6-point dogs or worse don't continue to fucking win every week. So, fingers crossed on that one. Did you know, I totally forgot to mention this earlier, the first time since 1960 maybe that through 5 weeks, teams that are underdogs of 6 or more, or maybe the first time ever, teams that are underdogs of 6 point or more are over 50% straight up.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You did?
I
okay.
did. That's why I said underdogs are ruining the world right now. Still.
Yeah. I know you said like Jerry wants to jump on it. I don't want to because I think it's going to stop at some point.
You think it'll stop? Okay.
I do. That's
pretty insane, man. And the public's taking an absolute beating because of it.
Yep.
So, yeah, be interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I lost a good chunk last week because I had a couple other teasers that fucking favorites for some reason kept plugging them in.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
Other ones. So we did not talk about this. Detroit Lions -3 at the Dallas Cowboys. Talk about a revenge game. You remember last year what happened in this game when they played?
I don't.
So it was the 2-point conversion that the Lions had.
Okay.
They scored it to win by a point with there was very little time on the clock. And they got that it was some illegal, not even illegal motion. It was illegal formation.
Okay.
And it was because they said the offensive lineman didn't check in. And you went back and looked at the video, and he was running in, doing his thing, right?
Yeah.
Saying, I'm an offensive lineman, but I'm whatever the verbiage is, declaring myself legal.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the Lions kind of got fucked on that. That's not even the biggest reason. Lions are coming off a bye. Dallas Cowboys are coming off a grueling game that finished very late because of the delay.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys are still decimated by injury. Do you remember, last week, their whole defensive line was out.
Even Micah Parsons?
Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, still out.
Jeez.
They lost their rookie second rounder. That was their DN. They lost him to what looked like an ACL last week. They are decimated, the Cowboys are. And when the Ravens played the Cowboys and beat the shit out of them for 3 quarters, what do? They ran the ball down their throat.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions' identity wants to be run the ball down your throat. So, give me the Lions here, -3. Talked about the Chargers, -3. And then Derrick Henry rushing yards over 79.5. Let's hope that game plan, that I'm correct on that game plan, that they're going to kind of ground and pound versus the Commanders.
Yep, control the game. Yep, that's what they want to do. Yep. Yep, we'll have all the bets on action. There's QR code here to finish us off. If you want to follow us on action there, scan us up, give us a follow. And then, that's it for us. And hopefully get Alex in the above 500, and I'll keep it going as well.
And get you some sleep. I feel like you're fading.
Nah, well, maybe.
You good?
Yeah, it's just one day feels like 3.
That feeling sucks.
Yeah, that's all. One day feels like 3, but that happens. But all right, we'll see y'all next time. Later.